The sky over the Yucatan Peninsula is a brilliant, untroubled blue. Below, a vast, warm sea teems with life. On the shore, a herd of triceratops moves slowly through a grove of giant ferns, their great, bony frills a silent testament to a dynasty written in stone. In the distance, the undisputed king of this world, a Tyrannosaurus rex, lets out a roar that is not a challenge, but a declaration of existence. This is their world. It has been for 150 million years, and it is about to end. From the black velvet of space, a visitor arrives. It is 6 miles wide, a mountain of rock and ice, traveling 50 times faster than a rifle bullet. It does not care for dynasties or kings. For a fraction of a second, it outshines the sun, a new, terrible star in the midday sky. Then, impact. The force is 1 billion times greater than the atomic bomb that would one day fall on Hiroshima. The Earth rings like a bell. A wave of unimaginable heat vaporizes millions of acres in a single heartbeat. A crater 100 miles wide is carved from the planet's crust, ejecting molten rock and dust high above the atmosphere, which will soon fall back as a rain of fire across the entire globe. This was the day the world ended. The day the sky fell, the seas boiled, and a nuclear winter plunged the planet into a darkness that would last for years, starving the great and the powerful. It was the day that wiped the slate clean, erasing the age of reptiles, and, in the silence that followed, allowing the meek and the small, our tiny shivering mammalian ancestors, to inherit the Earth. But history is a story of moments, of pivot points, and our story, our entire existence, hinges on this single violent instant. So let us ask the question that underpins our own reality. What if it had missed? What if the asteroid, through some minuscule change in its trajectory millions of years ago, had been a few minutes later, or a few minutes earlier? What if it had flown harmlessly past our planet, a footnote in astronomical history, and the Cretaceous period had simply continued? For the first few thousand years, nothing much would change. The world of 66 million years ago would roll on, oblivious to its cosmic near-miss. The Tyrannosaurus rex would continue its reign, perhaps evolving to become even larger, its bite force even more catastrophic. The herds of Edmontosaurus and Triceratops would continue their silent green arms race, developing ever more elaborate defenses against their predators. The oceans, ruled by the monstrous mosasaurs, would remain a place of terrifying beauty. And in the shadows, cowering in burrows and climbing trees under the safety of night, our ancestors would remain. Small, shrew-like mammals, their potential locked away, their destiny suppressed by the sheer overwhelming success of the dinosaurs. Their world is one of fear and stealth. Every rustle in the undergrowth, every shadow cast by the twin moons of that ancient time, is a threat. They are not the inheritors of the Earth. They are the survivors, living in the margins of a world that does not belong to them. But 66 million years is an unimaginable gulf of time. The world cannot remain static. Even without a cataclysmic asteroid, change is inevitable. The planet itself was already in a slow, grinding transformation. In what we now call India, a massive series of volcanic eruptions, the Deccan Traps, had been spewing greenhouse gases for millennia, slowly altering the climate. As the millions of years tick by in our new timeline, this process continues. The warm, stable greenhouse of the late Cretaceous begins to fluctuate. Ice ages, once unheard of, may begin to grip the poles. Sea levels would rise and fall. The vast inland seas of North America might drain away, creating new continents of opportunity. For the great dinosaurs, this is the first true test since their near extinction was averted. Many of the giants, those hyper-specialized titans, would struggle. Creatures built for a world of endless summer would find themselves facing seasons, snow, and a changing menu of plant life. Some would inevitably fail, their colossal skeletons vanishing into the fossil record of this alternate timeline, victims not of a sudden cataclysm, but of a slow, inexorable decline. But evolution is a relentless innovator. Where some dinosaurs fall, others rise. The smaller, more adaptable species would thrive. Imagine herds of agile, feathered herbivores built for speed and endurance, migrating across vast, grassy plains that now replace the old fern prairies. The predators, in turn, would become leaner, faster, perhaps more intelligent. The brute force of the T-Rex might give way to the terrifying, coordinated pack hunting of smaller tyrants. The world would not be lesser, merely different. A new generation of magnificent creatures would populate this alternate Earth. And all the while, another evolutionary story is unfolding, one far more profound. It's happening within a group of dinosaurs that were already showing immense promise, the dromaeosaurs. You know them as the raptors. Even in our timeline, these were uniquely sophisticated creatures. They had relatively large brains for their body size, complex social structures, and, most importantly, hands. Three-fingered, grasping hands capable of manipulation. In a world without an apocalyptic reset, these creatures are on a trajectory. Let's watch them over the next 30 million years. The changing climate forces them to adapt. They learn to hunt new prey in new environments. Their social bonds deepen. Communication becomes more complex, a language of clicks, chirps, and subtle body postures, and they begin to use their hands, not just for tearing at prey, but for other things. Perhaps it begins with something simple. A dromaeosaur, let's call her a saurian, uses a rock to break open the tough shell of a prehistoric turtle, an act of insight. Her young watch. They learn. The behavior spreads. Over thousands of generations, this becomes instinct, tool use. Another 10 million years pass. The saurian brain continues to expand. They're no longer just using found objects, they are shaping them, chipping away at flint with their strong beaks and claws, creating crude blades to butcher carcasses more efficiently. They have entered their own Stone Age. Their nests become more elaborate, no longer simple mounds of dirt and leaves, but woven structures of branches and mud built in defensible positions, high in the great trees or in the mouths of caves. They're not just nests, but homes, communities. And then comes the next great pivot point in this new history: fire. For any creature, the first encounter with a wildfire is terrifying. But for a species on the cusp of true intelligence, it is also an opportunity. One day, a brave or perhaps foolish saurian snatches a smoldering branch from a lightning-struck tree. It brings this captured star back to its settlement. The other saurians are terrified at first, their avian instincts screaming at them to flee. But they see its power. It provides warmth on a cold night. It keeps the larger, more brutish predators at bay. And when they drop a piece of meat into it, they discover cooking, unlocking nutrients and making food safer to eat. The mastery of fire is the dawn of civilization. It is the moment they truly begin to shape their world instead of just reacting to it. Their population booms, their settlements grow into villages, then towns. They develop agriculture, cultivating the fast-growing, flowering plants of their era. They domesticate other, more docile species of dinosaurs, keeping them for food and labor, just as we did with cattle and horses. What would this civilization look like? It would be utterly alien to our own. Their architecture would be organic, flowing, built in harmony with the landscape. Great spiraling cities of woven wood and sculpted adobe, more like colossal beehives than blocks of concrete and steel. Their art would not be of paintings on canvas, but perhaps intricate carvings on bone, or epic stories told through complex, ritualized dances, their tail feathers and crests conveying nuances of emotion we could never comprehend. Their science would be different too. Without the need for the kind of brute force engineering humanity developed, they might focus more on the biological sciences. Imagine genetic engineering, not with computers, but through selective breeding over millennia, creating living tools and symbiotic organisms that serve their needs. Their technology would be grown, not manufactured. Their philosophy would be shaped by their origins. A species that evolved from pack hunters would have a deeply ingrained sense of community, but also a rigid social hierarchy. The concepts of individuality and personal freedom that we hold so dear might be completely foreign to them, perhaps even seen as a dangerous pathology. They would be a civilization of the collective, a single, thinking superorganism. As they gaze up at the night sky with their large, sharp eyes, they would eventually develop astronomy. They would see the planets, the stars, the galaxies. They would see the faint smudge of the Andromeda galaxy and wonder, as we did, if they were alone. They might even develop space travel, their ships looking less like our rockets and more like living, organic seed pods traversing the void. They would be the undisputed masters of the planet Earth. But in this grand, sweeping history of a world that never was, we have forgotten someone. In the shadows of this saurian civilization, in the deepest, most inaccessible jungles and highest mountain canopies, a small, furry creature still scurries. What of the mammals? What of our ancestors? For 66 million years, they have been held in check. While the dinosaurs diversified and one of their own rose to consciousness, the mammals remained small, nocturnal, and terrified. They never had their moment. The extinction event that cleared the board for them never happened. The niches that would have allowed them to grow larger, to become smarter, to descend from the trees were always occupied. The primates, our direct lineage, would have faced the greatest challenge. The evolutionary path that led to us required coming down from the trees and walking upright on the savanna. But in this alternate world, the ground is the domain of the most intelligent and lethal predators the planet has ever known. To leave the trees would be suicide. So our ancestors would have stayed in the canopy. They would have evolved, certainly, but along a different path. They might have become expert gliders or developed prehensile tails like monkeys of our world. They might even have become quite clever in a limited, animalistic way. But they would never have developed the two things that made us human: bipedalism and the enormous, energy-hungry brain that followed. There would be no Australopithecus taking its first upright steps, no Homo habilis chipping away at the first stone tools, because another species had already perfected that art millions of years before. There would be no language, no art, no firelight stories in the caves of Lascaux. There would be no pyramids on the Nile, no democracy in Athens, no Shakespeare, no Newton, no Einstein. The entire story of humanity, our triumphs, our tragedies, our art, our love, our boundless curiosity is a ghost. The ghost of an opportunity created by a chance celestial impact. In saving the dinosaurs, we erase ourselves. The world would be filled with the wonder of a second, completely alien intelligence. It would be a planet of life, of consciousness, of civilization. It would be magnificent, but it would not be ours. Our existence is not an inevitability. It is a staggering fluke. We are the children of a cosmic catastrophe, the beneficiaries of a world-ending pivot point that blasted the kings of the earth into oblivion and gave the meek, for the first time in 150 million years, a chance to inherit the world. Our history is built upon the ashes of theirs, and it reminds us that on the grand, indifferent stage of cosmic time, even the mightiest dynasties can be erased in a single, fiery moment. The story of our own existence is just one of countless possibilities written on a timeline that could have gone so differently. If you enjoyed this journey into the history that never was, and you want to explore more of these unwritten chapters, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Pivot Point History. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next trip down a different path of time. Thank you for watching.